Today, I'm going to talk about the basics of fiddle leaf fig care. The fiddle leaf fig does have a reputation for being fairly finicky because there's several different ways that you can kill it. I wouldn't actually call it hard to take care of, but it does take a bit more attention than many houseplants. So for water, this plant does need regular water, but it also likes to dry out in between waterings and is very prone to root rot and can potentially then lose leaves or the whole plant can die. So if whole leaves are turning a light brown color, if they're getting crispy and falling off and drooping and falling off, that's probably a sign it's not getting enough water. Whereas on the other hand, if you have dark brown spots inside the leaf or potentially yellowish spots inside the leaf, that can mean that it's getting too much water. So those are signs to look for, but really what you should do is check the soil itself. You don't want the soil to be soggy. You want to make sure between waterings, the first couple inches, the top couple inches of soil dry out. And obviously also to avoid root rot, you have to make sure you have soil with decent drainage and a pot that has good drainage holes in the bottom. So when you water the plant, make sure you drench the soil, make sure the water comes out the bottom, but also water it infrequently enough that it dries out the top few inches of soil between waterings. And I do fertilize occasionally, mostly through the summer months, but not every time I water it. For sunlight, the fiddle leaf fig does fairly well with lots of bright indirect light. It likes and can very easily handle several hours of direct sunshine during the day, but it doesn't do very well in darker areas in only minimal indirect light. Mine I have in a northwest facing window, so big windows, gets a lot of indirect light throughout the day, but also gets several hours of direct sunshine in the afternoon. This plant will grow towards the light, so you definitely want to rotate it every couple months at least to make sure that you get even growth in all directions and it doesn't start leaning far to one direction. So you can see this plant, I rotated it recently, but you can see this plant growing mostly this direction towards the light. So I'm actually going to spin it all the way around. Originally, the fiddle leaf fig is from a high humidity environment, so some people do get humidifiers for their plant. I don't use a humidifier for my plant. It is fairly dry here in the office, but I just make sure that it gets regular watering in the soil and it seems to be doing just fine. Another thing you can do if you don't want to get a humidifier is just to mist the leaves regularly. This plant is fairly sensitive to its environmental conditions, so make sure that it's not near any strong drafts from heat or air conditioning or drafty windows. And also if you're going to change its condition, if you're going to change the light, the humidity, the temperature, make sure to do those changes gradually so that it can adjust and you don't shock the plant. These big leaves do get covered in dust sometimes. So occasionally I will very gently with a wet rag, I'll wipe off each leaf, get the dust off of it. If you get too much dust build up, it can affect the ability for the plant to absorb light, create energy. Also, keeping the plant clean can help avoid pest growth. Make sure to support the leaf from underneath and make sure you're not crushing it or bending it or breaking it. And dusting is not just good for the plant in terms of health, in terms of photosynthesis, but also it can just keep it looking nice. Getting the dust off keeps the leaves looking nice and shiny and green. Not too bad. Just a little bit of dust and dirt on there. So good luck with your fiddle leaf fig. Definitely let me know if you have questions and I'll try to answer them. And also if you have a fiddle leaf fig and have care tips that I missed, please share them. I'm always happy to learn from people who have more experience than I do.